Okay, just a quick note. Thank you for showing up. I see we picked up a couple people on the broadcast. At least one non-club member showed up, so that's good. We are going to try to record this and post it out on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, just search for W3KWH or Steel City, and you will go to our channel. Thank you for the people that signed up for subscribing, because we did get over the 50 members. So that lets us do future live broadcasts via YouTube instead of Zoom, which in some ways might be better. We are going to talk about amateur television here. And the important thing is we are not experts. We are learning just along with other people are learning too. Because unfortunately, we've lost a lot of knowledge from the day that Steel City had a ATV repeater. So nowadays, we're trying to relearn the knowledge while expanding on to what to do for the future, you know, because television has changed a lot in the past 10, 20 years. So, and that brings up new questions, which will come along here today. Carl's the victim here.
I started all this.
He started it.
Yeah,
What about
nice
it? We
job,
bring it back. Bringing back the full repeater would cost a whole lot of money, but he had the idea of coming up with setting up a video beacon, just like a regular beacon on ham radio. It would send out a constant signal. We would send out a constant video signal, which enables us to do several different things. If
You mean like a test pattern we used to see where you turn the first turn?
Right.
Well, there'll be test patterns, but there'll be other informational things like my rotating what upcoming events. And I'm open to having it posted for the W Western Pennsylvania section. So if Wacom wants to post something, I'll be more than happy to put that in the slide.
It sounds like you're describing the way cable used to be in the early days, where I think out in Ambridge at WNBA, they had a little camera that scanned a whole bunch of public announcement things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is like,
You were doing that not too long ago. So just a refresher, what is ATV? ATV is fast scan television. You might have heard slow scan television on the HF bands, where a picture might take 30 seconds to come across the screen. This is broadcast quality video being transmitted live, just like the TV stations do. And of course, nowadays you've got multiple formats. In the old days in United States here, we used NTSC, which was the analog format of transmission. And then around the world, there was different, like Europe had PAL and all that. Now it's expanded to digital, and just like everything else with the world, it's multiple formats with that too. So we're going to go over some of that coming down here. I will be posting these slides to our website. On the website, if you look on the bottom screen, there's links all along here that you can click on to find out more information about what that particular slide was talking about. All right. The ARRL band up here on the band plan down at 420 to 426 megahertz, there's a ATV repeater or simplex frequency with the video carrier being centered at 421.25. And then there's another simplex ATV frequency at between 426 to 432. And then up here, a ways up, well, 8 megahertz up, well, 6 actually megahertz up, there is the 438 to 444. Fun thing about this, I see that this is actually linked as a input, whereas in the future side, you'll see that it looks like Pittsburgh used that as an output. But the 70 centimeter band is the lowest frequency that we have that can incorporate a 6 megahertz wide video signal. likely we have three. And since it's the easiest to get equipment, I like to keep the beacon on the original 70 centimeter band. I've had lost suggestions of other frequencies all the way up to 5.8 gigahertz. But a lot of people probably don't want to put up a microwave dish. Right. Now, the unique thing about this is a cable channel cross-reference. The unique thing is over the air, you got the VHF and then you jump up into UHF channels. But on cable TV, to make it easy for the cable companies, they can transmit continuously since their signal is going down through a wire. So correspondingly, on the 70 centimeter band, channel 57, 58, 59, and 59 are all frequencies within the 70 centimeter band and the ATV frequency band. So if we use the 426 megahertz frequency, we probably will be on channel 58 or 57. And if we use the 438 the 438 frequency, we'll probably be on channel 59 or 60. So a regular TV set that does pick up cable channels should be able to decode a analog video signal.
Those channels are still 6 megahertz wide?
Yes, even in the digital age, like at Comcast when I was there, we might put multiple channels on 1 6 megahertz segment, but actual frequencies were still divided up by 6 megahertz. That might be going up now. But there are other bands available too. This is just a quick link to the 900 megahertz band and the 1240 megahertz band.
Yeah, please stay out of gigahertz. It's semi-dangerous. Stay away from it.
It's definitely a lot more line of sight and all, but that's why I say I like to stay at the 40 or the 70 centimeter band because there's equipment more readily available. Okay, history of amateur television in Pittsburgh. There were actually, I had to go back to the Repeater Council's Wayback Machine and the Repeater Council's 2013 PDF of the frequency list to find them. Currently, if you go to the Repeater Council's page and look up on the 440 band, the 440 band, you'll see there's no ATV repeaters on there anymore. So these are the originals. Down in Acme, Pennsylvania, there was up on top of the Laurel Ridge, I guess, or Chestnut. I think it was actually Chestnut. Acme's on Chestnut. There was a Laurel Hounds VHF Society had an ATV repeater. Andy had an ATV repeater. And of course, Steel City had an amateur TV repeater too. So there were 3 active repeater groups in Pittsburgh market. So that's what we were thinking about bringing back to the city.
If you use the 421 frequency, you'll need a special filter to make sure you stay within the band.
I think Art said we had some filters from the old repeater. So
Well, you weren't allocated to the 421. You were higher.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. We use, even though the AR band plan showed that 439 as a input, everyone around here used it as an output, and we were using the input of 426.25 as the input for that. So I'm thinking using the 439 megahertz.
How far is the coverage?
Well, what was the coverage back in the days?
Well, we got the Acme.
You've gotten into West Virginia with it in the past.
Right,
So it's just like a regular TV station.
basically.
Mhm.
How many watts?
Well, we'll get to that, but for the beacon, it'll be probably 10. Okay, analog TV was around forever and ever and ever. It's 6 megahertz wide. the color burst was at the magic starburst color burst frequency of 3.579 subcarrier, and sound was at the 4.5 megahertz subcarrier. So been around forever and ever and ever.
Did they use the standard modulation, sound FM and
Yeah.
picture
Yes.
AM?
Yes. Yeah. If we set up a analog transmitter, it will be the NTSC format of 6 megahertz with the FM sound, AM video carrier. In fact, that's an interesting thing. That TV you used to watch was AM.
Yeah. That's why you could see the lightning.
Yeah. Whereas the sound that came across as FM, but the actual video signal itself was good old fashioned AM. So interesting reading on the Wikipedia page on that. On digital, and I'm sorry, let me get rid of this. On digital, no, went too far. Like I said, the world can't standardize anything, it looks like. There's 4 competing formats. The big one, DVB-T and T2 is the most popular. There's over 90 countries that use that format. As you can see, all of Europe, most of Africa, Australia are using that format. And in America, being different, we use ATSC, which is a different format of transmitting your signal. And the only countries you're using that is, there's one little country, I don't know what it is, down in South America.
Looks like Guyana.
Yeah, something like that. And then South Korea. Those are the only 3 countries that use that format. And then Japan has, being different too, developed the ISB-DB. And of course, China definitely wants to be different, and they're by themselves there. So it's interesting. So that brings up the question of what format do we want to transmit in? So, yeah, you got multiple choices here.
Well, if you don't use the ATSC, you won't be able to use cable television to receive.
Correct.
That kind of answers the question.
Yeah, we'll get to that. There's 2 interesting links on here for the Wikipedia articles to explain the different formats. DVB-T has another format of DVB-S, which is the satellite, what they use on satellites. It's not supposed to be good for terrestrial use because of multipath issues and things like that. So that's why ground stations always use the T format. What equipment do you need? This is a page from PC Electronics website. And down here on the left side, the bigger black box is the TX70 transmitter. I think it put out 10 watts at the most. And you can plug your composite video and audio into it, and it will basically let you transmit the video right over the air. And then if you didn't have cable TV, down converter, which just took the 430 megahertz and brought it down to channel 2 or channel 3. Another option is what they use in the cable industry. This is basically like a fancy modulator. If you look closely, there's channel up and down. There's a switch that selects between VHF, UHF, or cable channels. So if you put it on the cable channels and tune to channel 57 or whatever, it'll transmit out on the 440 megahertz. Again, it only puts out like 100 milliwatts or less power. You still would need an amplifier to hook up to it. But that's a little bit more professional grade quality modulator. So that's an option of doing it too.
You can mention that where they use those, like in industry, you know, the broadcast over through a hospital or something, local programming.
Oh, you mean like in a hospital's internal cable
Right.
system?
Yeah.
This is what they use to store it,
Right.
or get it on cable.
So basically with this, you can have a very simple station, an antenna relay to switch between receive and transmit. Receive goes directly to the dongle. Transmit goes through an amplifier, then to the switch and a webcam, and you can get it on there. That little dongle is like the most expensive dongle you can buy. It's $230. But there are other versions that just transmit, and there's other versions that do both. Another option for that is a company called High Des. It's another modulator. The little black box does a lot of the work that the computer does on the other case. So you can plug simply an HDMI cable into this, and this will then transmit the video out on the 430 megahertz band. You need a computer to set it up, of course. So basically, once you connect to your computer, you tell it what frequency, what your call sign is, what format you want to transmit in, and like that. And then it's just plug and play. A couple relays to switch between the two. While I'm on this, when these SDR dongles have come out,
This is just.
you plug in this one actually lets you plug in the composite video too through a headphone jack, which is interesting.
You said that would do different formats?
Yeah, once you get into digital, you can do different formats. The unique thing about DVB-T is that you can actually lower the format, the symbol rate, I guess, another way to say it, and basically set it up so that I'm losing my train of thought. You can actually lower the bandwidth requirements. So you can actually send a television picture in 2 megahertz wide signal than a 6 megahertz wide signal.
Okay, but this wouldn't do like NTSB or the US.
No, it's
Not
DVB-T.
Whatever,
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
but when you said different formats, it's like,
No.
are they all available or just a select?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that'll do it. One box does all.
Gotcha.
There's one box for each type of format.
Gotcha.
Although this will do the crazy Japanese, some of these will do the crazy Japanese format too. So, but you don't want to get in that. Okay, what equipment do you need? This is a good example. You plug in the module to your laptop or desktop. 2 cables come out, goes into this box that has the relay built into it, and a 10-watt power brick. Simple setup. Just like I have on the board, you can go out from that through an RF amp back to a relay, transmit when you want to transmit. It goes up your antenna. The one thing you might want to add on the receive side is a preamp to help you receive a weak signal. It'll give you better range. I have created a bunch of these links here. This is one of many of the ones I have seen that let's see, let's get out of here. That will give you more information. Take your time and read through these. Carl found some. We've been gathering links here for the past week. But if you want to know more about the digital, how to set it up, that brings up a good point here of on digital, a marginal picture. You have the 599 and video, it's P1, P2, P3 up to P5. If you have a module P2 signal, they'll come across as a perfect picture on digital. There's a lot of good information on here. They'll actually even show you different modules, webcams, things like that. So take your time, look over that, and then you can find a lot more information on how Digital Works. Oop, I went too far. Okay, ATSC. We've done a bunch of searching. There's just not a whole lot of information for hams using in this country. I'm talking about ATSC. There are a few out there, and I think we probably should reach out to them and find out how they're doing it and what equipment they're using. That because it would be nice, because if we can do American format, then we have a chance of TV sets being able to pick it up. The one big question I have is when you tell your TV set to scan through the channels and it's scanning, first it scans the over air frequencies and then it scans the cable channel frequencies. Would it pick up an ATS format on when it's scanning the cable channels? Because cable doesn't transmit an ATS. They use a totally different format. That's the good.
Wait, did you just tell us that ATSC was the standard in the United States?
For over the air
Over the air.
broadcast,
For over the air broadcast?
over the air commercial broadcast, I should say.
Digital.
Mhm. That's the standard. Cable TV, if you ever notice when you're tuning through TV channels on your cable channels, it goes channels 2, 3, 4, 5, 800 and whatever. There is no channel 22.1 or channel 4.1 or channel 11.3. Whereas
So
that's,
it's over the air.
you do get those over there.
So would this equipment support the 4-channel? Is it able to do the 4-channel multiplex?
Again, you tell it what channel you want. Well, actually, with these, you actually put in a frequency on
it could be
the
a
configuration.
57.
There's all internal web pages that you go to set up the internal frequency. But yeah, most of these will transmit from 100 megahertz up to 900 megahertz.
Oh, okay.
And so you technically can put it anywhere on that band. If it's not cheap, you can find it cheaper than that. There's just one I found an example, but I was able to find cheaper than that. But if I had a sugar daddy at the club, buy one of these things just to play with it, and just to let's see if the TV sets will scan for it, because that would be the best way to go. You can just use your regular TV set to pick up channel 57 and watch the broadcast. Again, you might need a preamp, but that's about it. And another disclaimer, there's just not a lot of information out there. We've been searching for a couple of months at least to find more information on it, and I need to find someone that is doing it and then ask them knowing questions. In the presentation, there is a ton of links, things that we have found. The top one, the ATV handbook, is a very good link covering amateur television itself. It has a lot of good tons. There is a link, PC Electronics still has their website up, so there's still a lot of reference material in PC Electronics. The closest club to us is the ATCO, Amateur Television in Central Ohio, Columbus. They're still an active group. They have a newsletter that was at least posted in January, I think it was. So they're still an active group, which is amazing nowadays.
They say what mode they're using.
Yeah, they're using, I know they're using analog. They're using FM video on 1.2 gig. And I think they're using DVB. There's a group, I forget where the group was that was using ATS. But a lot of these people have multiple repeaters. There's a couple links from Great Britain to, I guess, amateur television's big over there. The KH6HTV has a lot of interesting information on their site. And where is it? Why am I looking that way? Again, quick neck again. I think I missed one link. I might put it on here. There is, oh no, it's on the YouTube list. YouTube videos are pretty interesting along this line. You can actually see people transmitting. There is a group out in California, the Amateur Television Network, that has like probably 5 different repeaters across the Southern California area. And I think they're currently switching over to digital. The top one here, the digital amateur television, is a nice link. He was giving a presentation at some group talking about digital TV. That was a good video to watch too.
Was the ARL site primarily the old analog stuff they talked about?
Yeah, there. I think there was some. I got like 3 different links that link from the ARL site, PDFs. They're reprints of articles in QST. So that's all on here. Look for this to be posted later tonight. So that brings us down to what should Still City Amateur Radio Club do for the community? And basically, multiple thoughts. Since this is a beacon, it's a good chance to find out what people are interested in and maybe grow their stations and all that. So how about this as a theory, or proposal, actually is a better word. Top of the hour, we transmit an analog amateur television signal. And then at the bottom of the hour, we transmit a digital signal, either DVB or ATS or ATCS signal. That way people can get equipment for either one and see how well it works for comparison. And then in between the broadcasts, we can put out a simple CW beacon on that frequency to let people know, tune in their antennas and stuff like that.
This antenna here, is this what you use to transmit on it?
This is the old repeater antenna. Yeah.
Well, it looks like for the number of, the length and the number of elements, looks like it would be a very narrow beam.
No,
No.
that's what's interesting about this antenna. Take a close look at it. It is actually, it's mounted vertically, but it transmits a horizontal signal.
Like a dipole, vertical dipole.
There are, all these are little vertical dipoles or horizontal dipoles on a vertical element.
The reason it looks like it does is it's a flat SWR over 6 megahertz.
Yes, yeah, those band.
That's the bandwidth. So that's the reason it looks the way it looks.
Mhm. So
We
it
have- we
is,
have the antenna and the hard line, so that's part of the battle there.
yeah, the internal equipment. Originally, when the club had the ATV repeater, I guess the repeater was in this room. The transmitting antenna was on top of the VHF tower. And then out at the far tower, why we had a far tower, I guess, in the first place, is that the receiving antenna was out there. So I
Because we
went
didn't have a
through,
duplexer.
yeah,
That's why it was separated. Because we didn't have a duplexer.
yeah, that must be interesting to set up a duplexer for a 6 megahertz wide signal. Hey, thank you. All right, so on. So what can we do with a beacon? Yeah, it's just got to sit there all day long. How about a digital video net? Put Carl to work on another net. And how we can do a net on just a beacon? Yeah, we have Zoom, although we gotta watch who we invite to it, obviously. But we have Zoom meetings available to that we could set up a computer up here to do a connection to Zoom. And whatever Zoom saw, it would transmit out. So it would give a chance that like Joe can show his home slides on his computer at home, and it would be transmitted out over the air. So that's one way of doing it. If you notice, I usually have a rotating message of upcoming events on the computer in there. We could do that. That'd make an excellent beacon item to keep the public aware of what's upcoming events.
Public bulletin board.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's kind of a business thing though. So,
No, that's true,
yeah.
that's
But no, different presentations and things like that, we could definitely do. And I would open it up to other clubs besides Still City. So if Wacom wanted to advertise their Ham Fest or Skyview wanted to advertise their Ham Fest, then we would
It went away, don't worry about it. It said the host has done
I
something.
spotlighted your video.
oh, that's just Patrick playing. Thank you, Patrick, for doing this. So basically, there's a lot of things we can do to put out training videos and things like that.
Carl, you can help me on this. Back when we had the ATV stuff,
Yes,
didn't we used to do something with the space shuttle?
yes, we used to broadcast that over.
Andy used to do that.
And
Yeah,
also
they did
the
too,
audio, I
right.
remember listening to that many times.
Well, he did
But didn't
video
we
on
have
his.
video?
I never saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't
wow.
one of the schools down here pick it
It
up?
was 900 megahertz.
I think they tried to go down to the school, to Chartiers Valley, and then they said, we're not interested.
Okay,
That would they, Art did approach them, and they just,
okay.
it's just like,
But we
We don't
doing
want the
the
inside
push
booth.
Like
Yeah.
Kathy says, when you had a repeater, they tried to do a Sunday night net.
It was neat because we watch everybody's vacation videos.
right.
We could still do that.
Andy had, he had an audio frequency that he dedicated to the space shuttle.
Yeah, I use
And
that.
then
Yeah.
if
So
you,
it's repeated,
if you got on his frequency and hit the right, you could bring up his TV and he'd show you a snap of video.
Right.
Makes it interesting listening to us.
Now, we had I guess the FCC gave the clubs or the ham community a special exemption to do that.
For NASA, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if that's still in effect, but that's something that we could research. When we're doing a video net, like Carl's doing a video net, we can have a talk back on the 2-meter repeater. So another way people can share in.
That's actually the way we did the repeater. We talked on the screen and just send videos.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the original repeater?
Dave has it, AA3 parts. nothing.
Well,
Oh,
the parts he built, he took
Yeah.
back,
oh, okay.
The cam,
because it wasn't being used. It was just
No, I
sitting out
understand
there.
that. I just wondered whatever happened.
Yeah. We still have the cabinet. We do have the satellite receiver, and we do have some other parts of the repeater.
I'm not sure, if it was 50 or 10, 50, I think, yeah.
But once again, we're going back to NTSB and you have to have an old TV set to see this.
Right.
And that's a good point. Not all new TVs decode analog anymore. I think the ones coming out now are not, a lot of them aren't doing it. This one that still does, I discovered. I want to create a web page on our website for people to say, hey, I received your signal, and so we can track how well it's coming in. And maybe create, like, get 50 QSL cards made up for the video transmitter. And then,
And later down the road, once everybody sort of figures out what they want to do, what we all want to do. You
Yeah.
could add a receiver and then have some way to post on a website, hey, your signal is such and such, is P3 or whatever the.
well, that's called a repeater.
It's just that's towards a repeater, yeah. It could be
So-
like a whisper receiver type.
Mhm.
But that's going to be dependent on how
Yeah,
much
yeah,
interest
sure.
there is in amateur television. There is no club approval for this yet. So first step would be probably reserve $1,000 to start buying equipment so we can get something on the air.
What's the repeater do?
I have no idea. That's, we've got some parts out there still. We got antennas, Yeah,
Of HD.
but
I don't want to talk.
Um, and that's the thing. I'm gonna take like the feedback, who received the most, or received analog or digital and all that. So there's still a lot of unknown questions about what format to use, what mode, AM or NTSC or digital, and how many people will sign up. If we get a fair number, it might be an interesting thing to try. I know I would like to see it. I think there was an interesting process. Maybe we should just set up a translator where it receives whatever it receives and retransmits it. So if you want to send a digital signal, you can send a digital signal. If you want to send an analog signal, you can send an analog signal.
Does this item really exist?
Oh yeah, well, technically it's what's being used in satellites right now. You transmit up, it comes back down. Just a different frequency. It just retransmits whatever it's hears. That's annoying. So
But you have to have the band, too.
yeah, that's a lot of bandwidth.
Do we have, is this the only antenna we have? Was there a second one?
Yeah,
We have two.
Yep. Oh, okay. All right, good.
Yeah, we have two. So let me quit presenting so people can see us. Stop sharing.
There was a hand that used to be on my machine. Who lived in Coriolis and worked for a digital TV transmitter manufacturer that was down near Boyce Road, somewhere in that industrial park down there. What's
That was
lines?
WA.
And-
Maybe a day, but
WA3DVD and Dave, AA3EE, both work.
Patrick, if you can enable the chat room, that way people can type in their questions if they have questions. I guess it's only Sue.
Bob Stack,
I think Bob Stack worked there too.
What was it called?
W3D.
That might be back.
C. What was it called?
I can't remember.
Yeah, he had a really unusual set of film. That's the fellow I'm thinking.
He lives in Coriopolis, yeah.
He does.
Okay, that's the fellow I used to hear, and he happened to mention that he had worked there. Now, they went out of business, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so.
In fact, the fellow who owned that does come every once in a while to the Bummer Club.
Oh.
Club meetings.
Oh,
You know
that's-
what might
who's
be
that?
interesting is
Huh?
to get,
Who's that?
The fellow who flew the airplane,
O'Brien.
Brian? Not Brian. No,
Not
no,
Brian,
not
no.
Brian. There's another fellow. He came with his wife a couple times. I talked to him.
I think who that was.
Oh, I remember when he was down, he had like curly bridge. Dark bridge.
No. Anyway, back in the heyday, there was only about 6 people that
Right.
did this on analog. And this is my personal opinion. If you're not going to go for a repeater, you're not accomplishing anything more than you're already accomplishing with mass emailings and websites for the station. I really would like to see a repeater, primarily because since you have the 6 megahertz allocation for a repeater, you could probably get 2 or squeeze 3 channels out. Yeah. And you know, the mode, the formats, somehow I don't see why we would want to go with anything outside of what the North American format is, but it doesn't look like that's a viable way to go even right now.
I have a question too. If it's just a beacon, obviously we're just putting out club information at that point, but we've got a repeater up there and someone can actually transmit through it. How do we police what they transmit?
How do you police a repeater now?
I know, but yeah.
Same deal.
Same deal.
And we only broadcasted video. You know, audio was through the O3 machine.
No naked women.
I probably should, Carl knows how to shut down the repeater, and I know how to shut down the repeater. Actually, you know how to shut down the repeater too. But we
You
probably
must
should
be
have.
training. I forgot that.
But that is something I should probably do, is set up more control type operators that can listen to the repeater and make sure idiots like we had earlier don't show up on it. Or it gets too political or whatever. Um, but it would be the same thing, yeah. No, all good questions, and I'm thinking the beacon ideal to find out how much interest it is. Because if you get a beacon, you got the transmitting equipment, all you then need is technically the receiving equipment. So you can receive and then
Yeah, but you're
retransmit.
asking people to spend what, another $200 to $300? I mean, even the dongle was like $230 or something. Just to receive
Yeah.
our advertised.
The one thing I keep thinking about when I think about this is that we may try picking up an ATS. And that's why I want to reach out to some club that is doing it to find out how they're doing it and what equipment they're using for it. I found one video one time and I lost the link already, but there is a way of doing it with ATSC. And I'm thinking, spend the money. I'm probably going to request maybe $1,000 to get started just to get the equipment and all.
Gotta find it first.
Yeah, find it first, which is another important thing. Pick up one of those ATS SC modulators and play with it, see if it is doable, see if the TV sets will scan for it. Or do you need, if your TV set doesn't pick it up on a cable channel, you can always get a good old fashioned down converter that will still down convert it to the channel 2 or 3 on the VHF frequency.
Will the down converters do HD?
Yeah.
The old down converters, the reason they came out was to take a digital signal and convert it back to NTSC for people who had the old TVs.
Well, they usually most down converters just down code to the VHF frequency and didn't actually decode the composite out. It didn't have like a composite signal output and an RF output, channel 3 output.
Originally it was NTSB to NTSB. Then they came out digital, and the down converters actually took the digital cable signal and converted it down to NTSB for channel 2 or 3 for people who had the older TV sets.
We talked about those ones, the cable was offering for free or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
I remember those.
So
Well, that's a good question too, but those were set up for decoding over the air. They didn't work on cable TV. Cable TV, you buy a cable box. Because cable TV never transmitted ATSC. They have their own format that they transmitted in. But so again, those little converter boxes won't scan for a cable channel. They're going to scan the VHF frequency band, and then they're just going to scan the UHF frequency band to down convert them. So that they'll skip right over to our 440 megahertz frequency. I doubt if any of those will pick up. Actually, since you have a bunch of them laying around somewhere, I'm sure there's a bunch of them laying around elsewhere.
yeah.
That'd be a good test to do if we do get an ATS modulator, is to experiment with that. Set it up on the table, transmit it just up to there and see what we can get and what TV sets will decode.
Yeah, they were
So,
I had contacted one of those clubs and asked.
You spend $10 and better.
Asked to chat with them about.
yeah,
What are they doing and what their equipment is.
that is my next step, is to do that. Today's meeting was to find out how many people are interested in it. When I post this link, I'll be interested to see how many people click on the link to actually read through the presentation. If you have any additional information you think I need to put in that presentation, let me know too, by the way. What was I gonna say? We, like I said, buy that ATS SC modulator. If it doesn't work, sell it on eBay, and try to make back some of our money. And then go with DVB if you want to do that digital. Because I do like the ability to think that it'd be nice just to get preamp hooked up to old fashioned rabbit ears or a rooftop antenna that you still might have on your roof and pick up amateur television to keep the cost down for the receiving people. And then they can fork out the money when they go to transmit.
Interesting, someone's setting up their TV and all of a sudden they get our station. It's scanning, look at this, got this amateur radio club out there. Call your.
Well, so my emphasis is in the field rather than at home with the computer. Just so you guys know, I mean, over the years, when the airport first opened up the brand new section of the airport, I was on the roof of the ground control tower doing video scanning surveillance for the county police. And then the CMU, their amateur radio club, and I used to go help them. In the spring, they had buggy races. Now, since then, they've gone to a professional video group, but the amateurs used to set up like 3 or 4 sites around the loop and broadcast back to their TV station. Jeff Hutzel will have the same old NTSB stuff that I have. And then for a number of years, we had 2 ATV sites at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, sending it back to the start finish line for them to monitor parts of the race. And that was because there's only 2, because couldn't do more than 2 frequencies on 90 megahertz or 440. And he did just that. He brought in a TV set, do a scan, and he'd pick up the cable frequency. And
Yeah. And
but the problem now is I don't think it's really viable to try to go back to NTSC because you need an old TV.
And that's a very good question. Let me go to this let me fix that.
Need some air in the tank.
I have an air compressor. We can do that. Right, we have an air compressor. We can do that. Okay, there's the RF modulator here. Actually, let's see if I can present this. Oh. Okay, so there we go. That's the back of the modulator. On the left-hand side, there's a ground connection, 12 volts input. And then there is actually an Ethernet connection, which I don't know what's used for. I probably configuring it. But 12 volts, 1 amp. You can run that off a battery pack, make a little backpack or portable setup for doing your public service.
We're laughing because at the Grand Prix, I built this wooden box with a 12-volt car battery in the bottom and a transmitter and a police hang my pole with the antenna and called it the Mikey Mobile.
We used to drop it off the top of the hill and run 500 feet of cable to where our corner was.
500 feet of cable nowadays would cost you an arm and a leg.
Mikey's mobile TV.
But it has a HD input for HDMI input and an output. So you can actually hook up a monitor to this. And it has an RF output. It actually has an RF input too for, like possible use for your mining signals. But, that's how it's done. That's the back. Let's go up here.
Maybe you get the video out on that Ethernet. Maybe maybe it has the
Well,
ability to give you the video.
But
it might be just configuration, but
Or you have to have a computer attached.
this is some of the setup pages for it. Here it is, transport stream over the air. So VHF, your UHF frequency. I'm sure there's a cable version. Then whatever channel number you want it on. you have, then the frequency, bandwidth. You can actually even digital narrow it down. Constellation type, which is, how digital is transmitted.
When you narrow down the digital frequency, do you lose any resolution?
Yeah, you would have to do that. I don't see how you can
So
keep
you can't
a,
get- You can't get the full HD experience unless you use the full 6 megahertz.
well, you gotta remember, HD has multiple formats. There's 480, there's,
So
there's
you'll drop it down to a
720,
480
yeah.
rather than a 1080.
exactly. That's probably what will happen. I'd be willing to bet. That's another reason we get one and play with it. But it's basically a web page that's the box offers that lets you set it up. Come on, get out of there. So, and it all comes from China too, of course. So it'd take a month to get it here.
Sitting on the boat off San Diego.
Yeah. And it's the wrong format, but-
Yeah. So, yeah, there's still a lot of questions that we have to learn. If you find interesting links, send it to me and Carl, because we're trying to gather them. And that's it.